вашей деятельности. Ну и благодарность. Это наше предложение учетных докторов, где много замечательных людей. Почтенный Анвар Ибрагим, даже, я думаю, многих из них вы знаете лично в карьере, и это тоже будет дополнительным стимулом наших отношений. Малайзия, уважаемые министры, научными и, во-первых, зачитать уважаемые послы стран нашего университета, дорогие студенты, достопочтенному Анвару за его вклад в укрепление мира, студенты, усилия по развитию университета между народами. Сейчас попрошу коллег вручить. Я прежде всего хотел бы сказать, что вместе с премьер-министром сегодня гостями института являются члены правительства Малайзии. Мы только что провели короткую, но очень содержательную беседу, в том числе говорили о... Сейчас по традиции ваше слово, the floor is yours. Перспективах нашего сотрудничества по линии honorable doctor. Образования и научных разработок. И премьер-министр при нас дал соответствующие поручения своим министрам, которые занимаются теми или иными вопросами относительно содействия такого рода сотрудничеству. Мы за это сердечно благодарны и уверены, что ваш визит станет очень мощным импульсом в развитии наших отношений с малазийскими центрами. Ну, а вообще ваш визит, об этом уже открыто все говорят, все комментаторы, станет, конечно, очень важной вехой в деле развития отношений между Российской Федерацией и Малайзией. Ваши вчерашние переговоры с Путиным были, как отличающиеся, исключительно содержательными, плодотворными и нацеленными на чтобы наше сотрудничество развивалось по восходящему. Я хочу сказать, что для нас сотрудничество с Малайзией всегда имело особый характер. И с Малайзией, и со странами
fast and unprecedented.
ASEAN, я очень рад видеть сегодня в зале послов стран ASEAN.
But we should never lose our soul of dignity, of human values,
частыми гостями принимают участие
and respect.
И в работе нашего
Incidentally, I had a great
и
meeting.
в проведении дней
We are here on his invitation.
Стран ASEAN здесь, МГИМО, это всегда очень такие важные события.
And exchanges international leader to a relatively smaller country.
Участие сотни и сотни наших.
But we accorded the sense of respect need to be promoted in the
студентов.
world.
Что
We
касается
don't believe in
наших
union
отношений
positions and display
с
of
Малайзией, то мы имели честь
and arrogance.
принимать здесь руководителей Малайзии не раз
To
с
showcase
выступлениями
that every be given the respect and
перед
recognition.
студентами. Но я хотел бы особо
Supporting
отметить то
this great
обстоятельство,
university, MGIMO, the president, the people of
то,
Russia,
что именно в этом
that-
году, в год, когда к нам
of recognition and respect.
приехал
work
премьер-министр,
together.
мы восстановили
We can only work
преподавание
together if we do respect differences,
малайского языка
cultural.
в МГИМО. И теперь у нас
And Banner, I don't see him relaxed many ways, but yesterday he was relaxed.
все языки стран
Extremely
АСЕАН преподаются в нашем университете.
seats. Emperor, the Tsar is in the center.
И, как мне кажется, это само по себе очень важное свидетельство
Second wife. You see, you think as a Muslim.
того, какое внимание
No.
проявляет и
I said,
руководство.
One wife, I don't encourage people to have too many wives. Is
страны и руководство МИДа, ну
control
и,
and
конечно,
discipline one
руководство
wife. Don't tell my
нашего университета и студенты, собственно, к
So he said
региону.
no. On the left conference, he whispered, he said,
Юго-Восточной
Can I
Азии,
tell-
поскольку я это рассказал премьер-министр, что
story about the wife.
у нас немало случаев, когда ребята в
I
качестве
am
третьего
very
языка
very
берут
stern and serious. So I said, of
языки,
course, Mr. President. I wasn't
стран
sure
ASEAN.
how is
То
going to
есть это уже такая большая
Energy
дополнительная
transition,
нагрузка. Но они
collaboration,
считают
higher
для себя
education.
важным и перспективным
He said to me, I'll say it. So
знать языки стран
when I
Юго-Восточной
want to
Азии.
say that, oh no, of course, it's viral. It's interesting enough.
Настраивая свою
I had to respond,
профессиональную
because my-
траекторию.
Then you follow that. I'll be in trouble. So
На то, чтобы так или иначе им придется заниматься
not
либо
all
политической, либо
Muslims share that view.
общественной,
Was
либо
permitted, but then
бизнес-работы
I
на
still
этом
maintain
направлении.
I wouldn't. We take a photograph of
И,
in
конечно,
front of
в
the
этом
throne.
контексте исключительно
So we
важно, что у нас
Us with the three thrones or seats, and then
реализуется
you know
образовательные
something. I rarely
программы, такая оригинальная, я бы сказал, новаторская
I feel, of course,
программа, магистерская, которую мы реализуем при
extremely
поддержке
glad that we have
Центра АСЕАН и наших
Engaging
коллег, друзей из
trusting.
секретариата
and be true
АСЕАН в
great
Джакарте.
friends
Эта магистратура связана с изучением
for the Russian Federation,
наших
Malaysia.
возможностей дальнейшего сотрудничества и
This with my colleagues in ASEAN.
развития
Well, our
этого
discussions
сотрудничества
relate to what
со странами Юго-Восточной Азии.
our bilateral relations
И в этой магистратуре учатся представители всех стран АСЕАН,
professors,
равно как
of
и
researchers,
представители
students
Российской
here,
Федерации.
and Russian
Нас не может не
students also
радовать
in
то,
Malaysia.
что у нас развивается
Now close to 400 Russian students in Malaysia. But of course,
плодотворные отношения с
I have also
университетом
sent
Малайзии.
thank you very much for
И
having the Bahasa
мы
Malaysia
находимся в
instructions
процессе
here in this.
подготовки большого соглашения с университетом. Мы
As you know, at the
хотели бы,
University
чтобы
of Malaya,
университет
we
Малая, который является Альма-матер
I do it full Russian.
нашего уважаемого гостя, премьер-министр, стал базовым для нас, для работы нашего центра АСЕАН, поскольку знаем,
When we talk about bilateral,
что этот университет отличается
this is not
очень
just
высоким
not
качеством,
about politics,
уровнем
trade and investment.
преподавания и
These are
научных
pivotal.
исследований.
Yes.
Мы
Countries have to
с удовольствием
ensure
развиваем отношения и с исламским
to be ignored.
университетом
That's why
Малайзии,
as
с Азиатско-Тихоокеанским
be ignored.
университетом.
Student
Наши
and,
студенты уже не
many
раз бывали
years
в
I
Малайзии.
spent in prison.
И сегодня у нас реализуется программа двойного
In reading all the great works.
диплома с одним из университетов. Ребята уже в этом году
Yesterday at the Metropole Hotel, I was
получат
in
два диплома, и российский, и малазийский.
going there, I saw
То есть дело идет. Но мы сегодня говорили о том,
boy. And
что у нас очень большие возможности
say that we
развивать
have also in great works.
эти отношения и
country-
дальше. И мы заинтересованы в том, чтобы
A country
у нас в ВУЗе было больше ребят из Малайзии.
work
Вообще заинтересованы в том, чтобы сообщество ребят из стран АСЕАН росло. Они, эти ребята, наши студенты, очень активные. Они составляют очень важную часть нашего многонационального студенческого коллектива, да и профессорского коллектива, поскольку он тоже многонациональный, и мы имеем в ВУЗе сегодня и преподавателей из стран АСЕАН. И это все, как говорится, такой очень важный тренд, связанный с существенным расширением наших связей со странами Азии и Юго-Восточной Азии. И спасибо за то, что вы в своей программе, которая, я понимаю, очень жесткая, очень тяжелая, нашли время прибыть к нам в университет и встретиться с нашим профессорско-преподавательским составом. Ну и, конечно, должен вам сказать, что когда мы узнали, что вы будете в Москве с визитом, мы на ученом совете и узнали, что у вас будет возможность посетить наш университет, мы на ученом совете обсудили вопрос выдвижения вас в качестве почетного доктора МГИМО, который внесли наши преподаватели, члены совета, которые знают вашу деятельность, следят за этой деятельностью, специалисты по странам Азии. И наш совет единодушно принял решение голосованием о присуждении вам степени почетного доктора МГИМО. Эта степень присуждается у нас не часто. Это, в год, может быть, 2 кандидата, которые получают это звание. Мы считаем, что это и наша оценка вашей деятельности, но и благодарны за то, что вы приняли Это наше предложение. И, как говорится, теперь каждый, кто будет приходить в университет, увидит и ваш портрет на стене почетных докторов, где много замечательных людей, некоторых из них, вы даже, я думаю, многих из них вы знаете лично по своей государственной, политической карьере. И это тоже будет дополнительным стимулом, кстати говоря, для развития наших отношений с малазийскими университетами, центрами научными. И я поэтому с огромным удовольствием сейчас перешел бы к этой процедуре. И предложил, во-первых, зачитать решение ученого совета нашего университета о присвоении звания почетного доктора достопочтенному Анвару Ибрагиму, премьер-министру Малайзии, за его вклад в укрепление мира, международного сотрудничества и за его усилия по развитию дружественных связей между народами. Сейчас попрошу коллег вручить премьер-министру мантию.
We see well. Prime Minister, the two prime ministers in the same country consulted all leaders of ASEAN. Can I do that? Because there was a week that they need humanitarian effort. Singapore, Philippines, all call them. That we have. So,
сейчас по традиции ваше слово. The floor is yours. Dear doctor, honorable doctor. А где плак-то?
thank you. Faculty, ministers, excellencies, and my dear students. It's a rare honor to accept this on behalf of Malaysia. To be studying hard. It's an honor for all Malaysians and peace-loving people of the world who believe in justice, in peace, and accept humbly. Thank you very much, Datuk. Didn't realize you surprised me with this. But it is, of course, a rare honor. And it would be taken as a major challenge for us to lift creativity to the aspirations of this great university, and more so to embark upon a journey which is very critical for mankind. We have lost the sense of honor, dignity, human values, and respect. And it is a challenge mainly to the young to do our utmost to assimilate knowledge, imbibe the know-how, and economic decoupling that threatens the entire disciplines that the world has somewhat digital transformation. A nation like Malaysia and my information, artificial intelligence, and the need to transform our societies through energy transition. At the same time, imbibe ourselves with strong values. The Russians talk about the Russian soul, and it is very consistent with our Madani framework. Yes, we have to affect change. We are living in a collaboration, unprecedented times. The pace of change is fast and unprecedented. But the new technology demands us to be more creative and human beings to be more ingenious. But we should never lose our soul of dignity, of human values, and respect for one another, of different creed, different cultures and civilizations. Incidentally, I had a great meeting with President Vladimir Putin. We are here on his invitation, with my colleagues, and exchanges from a very important international leader to a relatively smaller country in ASEAN. But we accorded the sense of respect, of equality in the level of comfort. And this is what needs to be promoted in the world. We don't believe in unilateral decisions and display of power and arrogance. Not between nations. We need to showcase that every community, every country, big or when small, rich or poor, must be given the respect and recognition. I therefore take this opportunity in this great university, MGIMO, to thank the President, the people of Russia, for that sense of recognition and respect, and the belief that we have to work together. And we can only work together if we do respect the different differences. Learn, cultural, religious. And of course, incidentally, there was this joke about the throne. And Putin in more relaxed manner. I don't see him relaxed many ways, but yesterday he was relaxed. He was asking me, he said, Piam Anwar, you see the three thrones, the three seats in that throne. When, of course, I said the past to emperor or the Tsar is in the center. And the Tsarina probably on the right. So he said, but on the left, second one. Then he laughed. He said, you see, you think as a Muslim, only talk about wives. I said, no. I said, I maintain I still have one wife. I don't encourage people to have too many wives. It's tough enough to control and discipline one wife. Don't tell my wife that, please. So he said, no, on the left is the mother, the Queen Mother, whatever. And then he, on the way to the press conference, he whispered, he said, can I tell this story? I said, what story? About the wife. But this is President Putin, whom I reflect to be very stern and serious. So I said, of course, Mr. President. I wasn't sure how he's going to tell the story. So after the initial remarks on trade, investments, and artificial intelligence, energy transition, collaboration, higher education, in language, etc., are such. He said to me, are such different. I'll say it. So then he went on to say that, and of course it's viral. A different, and then, it's interesting enough, generally I had to respond because my wife was, so that you follow that. I'll be in trouble. But remain the. I respond, I said, not all Muslims share that view. Of course, it's permitted, but then I maintain I have only one wife. And then on the way out, we were talking, and then he said, why do we take a photograph in front of the throne? So we did. The two of us with the three thrones, or seats, 50 million. And then when he said, you know something? When I rarely joke in public. I said, well, that shows the human side of Putin. And I'm sure we rejoice with that. And I feel, of course, extremely glad that we have been very engaging and trusting, and feel that, you know, we can be two great friends. So it augurs well for the Russian Federation, Malaysia, and of course I will share this with my colleagues in ASEAN. But our discussions will relate to what Dr. Tukunov mentioned. to enhance our bilateral relations, also to focus on the young, exchange of students, of professors, of researchers, and then to get students here and Russian students also in Malaysia. We have now close to 400 Russian students in Malaysia, but of course 700 Malaysian students here, and many of my colleagues from ASEAN countries have also sent and continue to do so. And thank you very much for having the Bahasa Malaysia or Malay language. Now, instructions here in this MGIMO. And as you know, at the University of Malaya, we also have Russian language and inclusive thrust. I don't follow Russian, unfortunately, but which is that is the I think need for us to focus when we talk about bilateral relations. It's just not about politics and diplomacy and trade and investment. These are pivotal. Yes, countries have to ensure that their fundamentals, economic fundamentals, be strong. But human values cannot be ignored. That's why, as I've said, in all my years, from the days I was a student and the many years I spent in prison, I took a lot of time and interest in reading all the great works. Of course, of Russian thinkers and literary giants. Yesterday at the Metropole Hotel, I was in the Chekhov room. And then going there, I saw the Turgenev room and Tolstoy. For the information of Rector, I must say that we have also encouraged our translation bureau to translate some of these great works. Where else can you find a country with such culture and tradition able to produce before that remarkable, phenomenal work of literature, of understanding the human strength, depravity, tragedy, and humanity at large. EU, with reading the works of Dostoevsky, Chekhov, Tolstoy, Pasternak, the poems of Anna Akhmatova, etc. I mean, would enrich not only the soul of Russia, but the soul of humanity, which is now terribly lacking. And this is consistent what we talked about polylogue among civilizations. How do you serve the world without any attempt to understand one another, of thinking that you represent the best, and therefore tend to be condescending towards the rest? So, polylogue among civilizations is not about erasing other cultures or distinctions. It's about recognizing the strength of one another. That's why I used to say, in these post-normal times, often we ignore the importance of these values, intrinsic values of humanity, of justice, of respect. Even how we look at the issues in the world today.
Malaysia.
You find, for example, utter devastation of Gaza.
My question is,
with hardly any effort to redeem
You're
the
very
problems. And you can see, for example, the debate when you talk about how do you deal with Ukraine and you deal with Gaza. You see, this contradiction is unacceptable. That is why it's in my remarks. I say, how is it that 2 killed in Ukraine is a disaster and 40,000 killed in Gaza is a mistake? Literary work. So this contradiction must end. I told President Putin that we look forward to this success of these negotiations taking place in Istanbul. The human heart. And we support all efforts, initiative to resolve this and peacefully. No country should be used to crafted support design of others. We have to have the patience to deal with it. With President Putin, I even embarked on a very sensitive subject. The shooting of MH17, Russian, the Malaysian plane that caused 43 deaths of Malaysians. I mean, people would say, unless you are a true friend, you can't discuss this. And I raised this question as a true friend. I said, how do I respond to this ICAO UN report? And mind you, President Putin shows so much, a great concern of this tragedy. And told me in very clear terms, we should get the bottom of it. Any international effort to resolve this must be done professionally, scientifically. And of course, I would accept that. That is a precondition. But to my mind, for a small emerging country in economy like Malaysia, why do I get this courage to ask President Putin? Because I trust him as a friend. And his response was, to me, extremely helpful. He says, there's no question. It's a major tragedy. There's no question that we will get to the bottom of the Western canon. All the cooperation possible to find out the truth behind this tragedy. Now, but of course, you must have credible institutions. But we, independent, professional institutions. And it is very complex because countries sometimes expect us to be hard and divisive. So I'm just sharing with you one. I would challenge anyone who is clearly a way where we can work among nations to secure ultimately through peace. And I am very fortunate that I come from a region, Malaysia. You know, and ASEAN, you know, the most peaceful sub-region in the world. And ASEAN, because the most vibrant economic, fastest growing economy in the world. Why? There's peace in the region. We establish extremely close relationships with the leaders. Any issue, say Myanmar, we say, well, we have to find consensus. When I decided to go to Bangkok to meet the military junta and the opposition prime minister, the two prime ministers in the same country, I consulted all leaders of ASEAN. Can I do that? Because there was a terrible earthquake that they need to have a ceasefire. To Kazan we need this evening into humanitarian efforts. And without exception, all of them, Singapore, Philippines, Brunei, Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, all said, please proceed. And after that, I immediately called them to tell them about the level of success and engagement that we have. So I'm not saying that this is due to one country or Malaysia, no. But because of this trust and comradeship and engagement between the leaders of ASEAN. And I'm very fortunate to be given that trust to coordinate the efforts. So, you remember in Fathers and Sons by Turgenev. We sit in the mud, my friend, and reach the stars. 6 months quote. Thank you. This captures the human condition, grounded in struggle. We sit in the mud, yet reaching with ideals something higher. This is the brutal reality of the world.
So, regarding BRICS,
but also,
Regard-
more importantly, an
regarding
enduring promise.
participation in
And because we're living in so much
Kaz-
tensions and distrust,
Kazan, in which
despite the so-called initial post-war,
MGIMO?
post-Cold War,
MGIMO,
initial security
after-
understandings, we still have a problem. Now let's
So
just
after
take
Malaysia-
the great Dostoevsky
joint BRICS
in
for,
Crime and
for,
Punishment.
does Malaysia
Testing the Russians.
does Malaysia
All
sec-
is in a man's hands, and he lets it all slip from cowardice. That's an axiom. And it would be interesting to know what it is men are most afraid of. Taking a new step. All right. Uttering a new word. A new word is what they fear most. So do not fear innovation. Of course, creativity and the preparedness to state what is right, what is just, what is honorable. Now, in the past, I state this because we are in a geopolitical flux that casts a shadow not only on security issues, but on trade and economic cooperation. You know, there's rise. Now can you imagine in 2025, after all the GATT and WTO and multilateral arrangements, now we have the rise of protectionism, arbitrary imposition on tariffs.
As possible, so that we can
unilateral sanctions, and economic decoupling.
immediately.
That threatens the entire system that the world has somewhat agreed upon. So, for a trading nation like Malaysia and my colleagues in ASEAN, this is nothing short from existential threat. We are a trading nation. We have become one of the hub for semiconductor production of chips in the region. And of course, there's a production, both at the initially the back end now, advanced design, advanced packaging, and suddenly we are threatened with this. So that's why we must continue to promote this sort of understanding, MGIMO, for what? For world order, for understanding, for peace, for collaboration, for open trade. That's essentially why you have an international institution like this. Why Rector Tuganev, I think this morning alone told me about at least 6 times to benefit about the need to enhance cooperation and collaboration. After this speech, he will say for the 7th time. But he is saying something which is appropriate and pertinent, that the days of protectionism must be over. So it must be a rule-based world order. So I represent my colleagues in ASEAN fostering this issue. That's why we support CPTPP. Thank you. Now, Russia accept, and now with Russian support, mind you, the country that proposed Malaysia's entry as a partner in BRICS was Russian Federation. It was President Putin that proposed in last year's meeting, and of course supported by of dollars, China, India, Ethiopia. We are very fortunate. Islamic so that's where BRICS stand for, and I think that's why I think the cousin think which we in Malaysia
Selamat
look forward to opening up
Ibrahim.
trade and market
My-
from traditional partners.
Also,
Now,
master
notwithstanding what I've said,
also master students here.
please remember that the United
My
States
question
is
for
the
you today is-
largest investor
In itself, navigate its diplomatic
into
strategies
Malaysia and our largest trading partner.
connections that will
But this doesn't stop us from stating what we believe
community market
is right and honorable. Now, we have been... now, Alexander Solzhenitsyn reminds us to see the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. Humility. China, this reflects a universal truth. The struggle between our better and worst angels is not between nations, but within each country. It is the humility that allows us to pursue his interests. That's why I must reiterate that personal sense of feeling of satisfaction when meeting our long hours yesterday with President Putin. This leader of this large, great country would engage with a relatively much smaller country and economy, which the same human recognition, equality, and collaboration. This, to my mind, is a remarkable feat. And you go to China, I wish friends, these two countries, together with ASEAN, well. But we must not be tempted by despair. History, many of you students learn history, economic history, political history. They are not moved by perfection. It is shaped by perseverance and resilience. Leadership is the work of patient conviction to the struggle forward when the path is uncertain, to act with courage when clarity is that I'm is elusive, and to hold fast, to hope when it feels most fragile. That is the task before us. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Dear Prime Minister, for your excellent, emotional, and inspiring speech. Thank you very much. And we all admire your knowledge of the Russian literature. Now we have some time, not too much, for Q&A session. So
do I pass the
questions from the audience?
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your lecture.
University and
my question is as follows. I'm Farid Mercedes from School of International Relations at MGIMO University. Well, Malaysia is chairing ASEAN this year, and my question is as follows. In an era of political turbulence and economic uncertainty, how can ASEAN foster unity among its member states to effectively bridge the world and create a cohesive regional response to global challenges?
Truly to ask such difficult questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, ASEAN takes a common position on most issues. Of course, there are different countries, different emphasis and bias, but generally, for example, say the most contentious or more difficult conflict that we are facing, issue that we are facing, say Myanmar. The consensus is okay, do whatever it takes, engage however, but remain the 5 principles. We call it 5-point consensus. And that's why in my engagement, when I say I'm to talk, they know that I will toe the parameters agreed upon. Now on tariff, we have these bilateral discussions. All countries in ASEAN are having bilateral engagement with the United States. But all of them asked, if possible, for Malaysia as President Chair to at least present the ASEAN case. It's 650 million people, $3 trillion. It's not small when we see as one regional bloc. So we have both bilateral, but also the understanding that we also to speak up for ASEAN. Now let us talk about, say many contentious issues, say issue of Gaza. Of course, there's different levels and degree, but no one wants this to continue. All wants a ceasefire. All says you have to respect human dignity. You know, some may pronounce that you recognize Palestinian state. Some may take some time, but no country in ASEAN has condoned these indiscriminate killings and colonialism of Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you for, first of all, thank you for your amazing speech. My name is Maria Migushina, and I'm a student of International Economic Relations Department here. And I would really like to know your opinion on how do advancements in digital technology and the growing importance of cybersecurity serve as tools for Malaysia and Southeast Asian nations to connect and collaborate more effectively, thereby contributing to a harmonious and great regional framework in a fractured global landscape. Do you see any role for Russia in this regard?
Thank you. Now, in the first priority of ASEAN this year, the consensus was sustainability and inclusivity. Then we have the thrust of our programs. One, we call it energy transition, which is critical. And we have now understanding